Hello, and welcome to Talk of the Townsends, the show about the secrets of incredible wealth, finding inner peace, but mainly just like chatting and talk about TV and stuff like that. One day I'll remember what that intro is. Hello, my name is Benedict Townsend.
And I am Hannah Townsend.
How are you, Hannah? What's new?
Yeah, busy old week.
Busy. It's been a long week since we were here last time. We're back in the shipping container studio where we were last week.
Where we were last week.
And a whole week has passed.
Yeah. A lot's moved about since last week.
I know, it feels so different. I got a haircut, it grew back. I bought a second shirt. It's been a crazy week.
Have we ever said about it grew back?
No, we should talk about that.
We have this running theme that our cat is like a liar.
Because our cat's like 3, so we talk about her like she's a little baby. And if you don't know what we're talking about, you obviously don't have a cat. Because once you get a cat, it's like having a little baby child.
She baby.
But we like to pretend that she like says stuff to us. It's actually kind of insane when you say it out loud. But we'll get home, we'll be like, Suki, how was your day? And she'll like lie. You know the way kids lie?
Yeah, she'll be like, yeah, well, I did this, and then I went out for a bit, and then I
She'll be like, yeah, I went to the park. And we'll be like, really?
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to the park, yeah, that's good.
But when we go away, obviously we have a house sitter and who looks after the cat. And when we come back, we always like say she did this lie that like the cat sitter shaved her a bit. She's like, yeah, the cat sitter shaved me a bit. Grew back.
Yeah. Because we always pretend that she hates the cat sitter. She's like, she didn't feed me. Suki, I think she did feed you. She didn't feed me, and she shaved me. It grew back.
It grew back. We're like, where is it? It grew back.
Yeah. Well, she shaved you. Where's the money? It grew back. Don't worry about it.
I love the idea of her being a little liar. Like, kids are little liars.
It's quite sweet when kids lie, especially when it's like an obvious lie. When it's like a lie they don't really know about as well. When they're like, yeah, I went to the park. Yeah, there was like a volcano there, I think. Because they just don't know,
Did you ever lie as a kid?
I don't think I did, I can't really remember. I remember being a kid and other kids lying and it driving me insane. Because as a kid, you have no recourse to like prove them or to like prove them wrong. They'd be like, my uncle's James Bond. And I'm like, I know. I was the fun kid who was like, I know factually he's not.
That does sound like you.
I was such a little old man. I was born an old man and I get a bit more correct every year.
Yeah. You're coming into yourself.
You were a crazy little kid.
I remember I once said that people said that I looked like Sophie Ellis Baxter at school. And no one had ever said that. But I was like, yeah, people tell me a lot I look like Sophie Ellis Baxter. And that just had never happened.
No. And you look like a lot of celebrities, but was it one of those things where you were trying to put it out into the universe?
I was like, if I say it, it'll be true. And then I hoped that maybe other people would be like, actually, now you say it. But I was like, I honestly, I remember I was in junior school on the playground, so maybe I was like 7, as if I looked like Sophie Ellis Baxter.
Sophie Ellis Baxter also one of the most specific looking people ever.
Yeah.
If someone looks like Sophie Ellis Baxter.
I did.
I
did. Other people didn't. They didn't see the vision. I was putting it out there. I was trying to sell the copies. No one was picking it up. So anyway, yeah. There we go. I never got through. But that was me. I was the kid lying. You were like, no, you don't look like Sophie Ellis Baxter.
Well, this reminds me of something, actually, which is so a fun fact about me, which you may be able to tell if you're watching the video feed, not so much on the podcast, is I don't think I look like any celebrity. Right? Everyone has someone where they're like, oh, someone told me I look a bit like Brad Pitt or I look a bit like, Peter Crouch, whatever. I just have like a completely neutral look. The only person I look like is other men on TikTok. I get tagged in a lot of like other random white men with mustaches on TikTok. Yeah. But I've never once in my life had someone say to me, oh, you look a bit like X celebrity.
Until?
Good or bad. Until literally yesterday when someone commented on one of my TikToks going, has anyone ever told you look like Helen Mirren? And I was like, genuinely no. That's a genuine first. And then Dame Helen Mirren.
Then you kept getting photos of Helen Mirren up and you were like next to it.
Should I get a picture of Helen up? I call her Helen.
That'll be good for the people who are listening purely on pod.
For the people at home, this is an interactive portion of the show. Go on your device of choice. Get a picture of Dame Helen Mirren. I mean, I personally don't see it.
It's not a no for me.
I brought this up at work today, actually, and they said that we look...
Were you trying to put it out there? People have been telling me I actually look like Helen Mirren.
Like Sophie Ellis Baxter. I brought this up at work, and they said that it looked like we could maybe be related. It could maybe be that we're from like the same kind of family.
An aunt.
Yeah, my Aunt Helen Mirren. Oh yeah, my Aunt Helen, she's an actress. You may have heard of her. Because she has blue eyes, I guess. I personally see it. I mean, that person might have just been insulting me, but it's so specific. I feel like it must come from somewhere.
Yeah.
I also like the way they phrased it. It wasn't, I think you look like Helen Mirren. It was, has anyone ever told you? As if that might have happened before.
Yeah. And the answer is no. But hey, now you got one.
Now I got one.
It's like me and Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, you do look like Sydney Sweeney.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
It's that or Sophie.
The blue eyes.
It's the eyes.
I think I look more like Sophie Ellis than you do.
You're going to say you look more like Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, arguably that as well.
You think you look more like... Get a photo of Sophie Ellis up.
Well, I've got like dark features and she has like... Doesn't she have...
Yeah, I'm over here albino.
Well, she has like dark hair. Sophie Ellis is one of my earliest crushes. There's a picture here. I can't tell which one it is. Is it this one?
Who was your other crush that came up? In Friends the other day, you had...
Kathy from Friends.
That was such an interesting crush.
I kind
of see it. We're rewatching.
She's very pretty.
I'm not saying she's not.
Paget Brewster is the actress. Paget. What an interesting name.
Has she been in anything else?
Yeah, I think she was in some other famous American show.
You followed her career.
Yes, I followed her closely. I think I was just like, obviously she's very pretty, and I think, Kathy was very much written as like such a cool character.
Yeah.
Chandler.
And you were like, that could be me. Like, I could be the little geek.
I was like, I'm like every young boy. I was like, I'm basically Chandler because I'm so witty. That's like the harsh pill of growing up. Is you grow up thinking you're Chandler, and then maybe thinking maybe I'm Joey, but all along you were Ross.
Yeah.
How's that for a millennial thought?
So yeah, a very sweet first crush. But for
a long time, I will say I thought that Chandler and Kathy should have stayed together. I thought they were almost a better coupling than Chandler and Monica.
Just because you wanted her to have more screen time.
They
were great, actually.
They were a great couple. Because they only break up because they randomly make Kathy cheat on him, which felt a bit forced. I'm still mad about this.
I'll defend my woman to the end of the earth.
This was only 25 years ago this happened, whatever. Longer, probably, nearly 30 years ago.
But fair. I actually see that because him and Kathy are very well matched. They're like, they're putting them to us as two perfect people. So crazy, like when you think about Friends and like, I always think that these relationships happen, like Kathy was like a really big character that happened like for a long time, but like when you rewatch it, it's like she's in like 3 episodes and then she's out.
Because we've been rewatching it again recently for the millionth time. It's the same with Pete, the millionaire. This is a rough segment of the podcast if you've not seen Friends, but Pete, the millionaire guy that Monica dates.
The boxer.
What's his name? Favreau. Who directed Iron Man randomly, Jon Favreau. To me, he's like a huge character in the show, and he's in 2 episodes. 3 episodes?
Literally. But they position him as like the love of Monica's life.
It's like a rave happening outside our. He's positioned like the love of her life, and he also just leaves the show. It's so funny when they're like, they obviously can't figure out what to do with the character. They're like, well, we can't have them get married, so then they'll just have a character just like disappear from the show
or become awful in.
Yeah, like, do you remember when Phoebe's dating that cop and she loves him and then he just shoots a bird and then she immediately breaks up with him off screen?
Again, though, so much happens. It's like they're gonna end up together and then it's like 2 episodes later, it's like we never hear from that character again.
Yeah, he just shot a bird.
But whenever we're talking about Friends episodes or just episodes in general, the way our brains see older versus newer episodes is completely different.
This is fascinating to me. You have such a fascinating brain.
Thank you.
Because for whatever reason, the way you see stuff, it's never incorrect. There's always a logic to it, but it's just a way no one else would see it.
I disagree. I think many people would see it the way I see it.
I don't think. Okay.
For me, obviously, it makes sense.
We're going to put this out there. Comment or tweet us or whatever if you think of things. I've never heard anyone think of time this way. We were talking about Friends.
So the way I see it, when I talk about the older episodes, okay, I see it as I'm talking about the older episodes in the show. So season 12.
So what many would call the newer episodes.
But they're the older in the life of the show. The characters and everyone in that is older.
Yes, they're chronologically newer.
Now I'm saying it, you're like, maybe she's right.
I'm not saying, no, it's definitely nuts. But I get the logic of what you're saying in that the show has gotten older.
Yeah.
Almost as if the show is a person. But the episodes are chronologically newer They happened more recently. Because we were having a conversation about season 3 of Friends. And we were both saying we had no memory of it. And you said to me, yeah, I know the old episodes back to front. And I was like, what do you mean? You don't remember this? And you were going, no, the old episodes, like season 10. And I was like, what are you talking about? You're not doing a bit. That is genuinely how you think about that.
That's I don't know that I would say old. I would say older.
Okay.
But the older episodes to me are like, yeah, like season 12 onwards.
And then what would you call them younger episodes?
Yes, younger. Obviously, I wouldn't call them newer. I would call them younger.
Okay, so season 1
is young.
It's a baby.
So young.
It's a baby. Little baby Nuki. So that's
so young.
The youngest episode.
So young.
Because the cast is young or younger.
Well, the show is young.
Yeah.
The cast are young.
Okay.
The storylines are young.
You would say definitively the newer episodes are older and the older episodes are younger.
Well, when you pitch it like that, no one's going to go for it. Like, you got to...
Are you trying to get people to go for it?
No, but like...
You're trying to make this an initiative.
But you're pitching it in a way that's like unfavorable. Like,
I'm just saying out loud what you believe.
So you're saying that the older episodes, but the cast are young. Like, I can give it back.
But there are old people in those episodes. Sometimes. Their parents are in them. So are they older episodes than ancient episodes?
You know what I mean, though?
I do know what you mean. It's just such a fascinating... Can we think of any more examples of stuff like that? Sometimes you come out with these things and I'm like, it's fascinating because it's not wrong, but it's just like a little askew.
But I don't understand that they're different until you pick up on it. Until you're like, what an interesting way of thinking about it.
You've never questioned...
Yeah, so in my head, there's nothing that like comes to mind because I'm just like, that's the way things are. I'm like, in my head, I'm like, everyone would see that as the older one. And it's only until you point it out that I'm like, huh.
Because you'll do it with phrases sometimes, like when you said gambling with fire. Which is a great phrase that we use all the time now.
My brain combines.
Yeah. A note to the podcast listeners, the gig next door seems to have really picked up. So there may be some ambient music throughout this episode, but that's, if anything, a bonus.
Yeah.
You know, if you're listening to Spotify, we're 2 birds, 1 stone, so...
Hey,
there we go.
We're across both.
Yeah.
Speaking of older, newer episodes.
Okay. What a sagoo.
To be fair, they time traveled in that.
Oh, that's another thing you say is time travel.
Yeah.
So Hannah, when there's a flashback or any jump in time in a show, you refer to it as time travel.
That's what it is.
And you don't enjoy time travel.
I find it very confusing. I find it very hard to keep up with time travel in any sort of... If there's just like a slight adjustment, like she once had like hair to here and now it's like a slight bob, I'm like, I'm so lost that it's a different time. And I'm like, but her mother's dead. How's she with her? And you're like...
It's a flashback. You're such an intelligent person, but that particular thing just like baffles you.
Messes with my brain.
The fact you call it time travel as well is really funny.
But it is time travel. What else would you call it?
Isn't all TV editing time travel?
No, but you're time traveling in the sense of the show.
I guess.
So One Day had a lot of time travel.
One Day on Netflix, which we enjoyed greatly.
Oh, it was so sad.
It was very sad, wasn't it? I guess we're going to talk mild spoilers for One Day.
I was like...
It's sad.
I was like crying for such a long amount of time at the final episode. Like usually when you watch stuff, there's like... I'm so used to TV and film having a bit of a break in the sadness. Like... I felt like it was like 15 minutes of just sad.
Yeah.
With no one like cutting through with like any silver lining, any joke, anything. It was just sad.
Sorry, but the bass behind your statement of grief is just really funny. I do agree with you. It was nice in a way because it's like, I try not to spoil it too much, but it deals with grief.
I think
the book's been out.
The book's pretty... If you've not read it by now, then that's on you.
Anne Hathaway died 10 years ago. You know.
Bloody hell! Anne Hathaway in a terrible accent died.
She gave it a right good go though, didn't she? It's good though in that, like, without getting too sad, that it's quite a nice depiction of like grief or whatever, where it's like there isn't just like a quick fix.
Yeah.
It is just really, it just sucks and it's really sad. It's such a good show. They're really well acted.
Yeah. My only one tidbit is
One Day, more like one tidbit.
Am I saying that right? What is that?
Is it tidbit? Because sometimes I say titbit.
I said tidbit.
Yeah.
Tit.
That's a little bit more. That's a bit more risque.
The X-rated tidbit.
Tidbit for you.
We need to look up the origin.
I think it's tid.
Where's the origin from?
I mean, it's probably like the plague or something, isn't it? These things have always got some horrible, depressing... Should I Google tidbit?
Tid.
You talk among yourselves. A small, interesting piece of information.
Yeah, I can.
Or a small dish of pleasant-tasting food.
Well, no, you're looking for the origin. I repeat, the origin.
Origin.
Really?
Here we go. Tid comes from English, and bit comes from English, apparently. That's what the origin says.
No, I don't think you understand what the origin of the saying is. It's how it was created.
It comes from the phrase tid, meaning fond or tender. So it means like a bit of goodness.
Ah.
Yeah. Arguably a description of a tit as well. A bit of goodness.
What's that one that they say, like, they used to like bite down on bullets or something for in the wartime? Bite the bullet?
Bite the bullet? That'd probably be the number one bullet biting phrase I've heard of.
Anyway, yeah, my one tidbit in one day is just like everyone was so mean to the guy.
Yeah, and to her. There's a weird thing where like it's meant to be sort of about like, you know, the harsh realities of growing up. But the way they decided to show that was by having every person they ever encounter, every stranger, just be really rude and mean in a way that people aren't.
I don't think she got it as much. I felt, in my opinion, it was him with like, he was doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah.
He was like a presenter. He was making money. He was doing all right. And like his family were just like, you are such a disappointment. I'm like, he's on the telly.
Yeah.
He's doing fine.
I think maybe it's a slight failing or deficiency of the show that I think he's meant to be a real mess.
Yeah.
But he doesn't seem that bad. Like obviously he's drinking and stuff in a way that's bad, but he still comes across pretty put together and he seems to be doing pretty well for himself. I think they should have made him seem more of a
mess.
But also just random strangers he'd encounter would be like, it's you, that idiot from the telly who I hate. And it's like, people don't talk like that. Like, also it's weird you never see her family.
Oh yeah.
That really broke my brain when I realised that. You never see her family, I think, ever?
Yeah.
And then...
they weren't at the memorial or anything for her.
Because you'd think at the end, after she, spoiler alert, goes away for a while, you'd think her family would be like supporting him. But they're nowhere to be seen.
That's a good point.
The little specky comedy guy turns up.
Oh,
That reminded no one of no one. Every time he appeared on screen, you were like, looking at me like...
He was a sweet character.
He was a sweet character.
That was a great show. I really enjoyed that.
It was a really good show. You said this, it was a show that justified having lots of episodes.
There was enough story there, wasn't there?
Yeah.
It wasn't like we're having to have the whole backstory of like Edinburgh was built in, you know, but it was like there was enough good stuff.
Because streaming loves doing that, where they're like, we've got this great story, we've got this great 3 hours worth of story, and we're going to make it 12 hours, whether you want it or not. Like those Harlan Coben things they keep doing on Netflix. You know that one that we started watching? Where it's like, my wife, where's my wife?
So many.
It's just Richard Armitage going, where's my wife? And everyone lives in a weird luxury mansion. And it's the one with Joanna Lumley.
Yes.
And everyone talks in this kind of weird, like, Americanized way where they're like, she's my kid. I've got to find my kid.
My kid.
Where's my wife and my kid?
Was that my wife one? Yeah, we lost our way with that one. But again, because there was just too many episodes.
There's too many episodes. It doesn't need to be that long.
Too many apps.
Too many apps. It's also another classic one. I'm sure we've spoken about this before on the pod, but is when you open up a true crime thing and it's like, this still unsolved mystery. And it's like, nope.
It's like 9 hours. It's like, why? I'm not going to watch 9 hours to not know who did it.
Yeah, 9 hours of people going, no idea. Great, well, crazy.
Although, did that Australian Last Stop Larimer, I guess that's the exception to the rule.
Last Stop Larimer was great. I think we spoke about that on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's that thing of like, it's always the same kind of thing. It's like a murder in the 70s shook this community. Could New Light point to an answer? And it's like, well, could it? Let me know if it could ahead of time, because I don't want to get like 12 eps into this and you'd be like, we still don't know. It's like...
Yeah, I've not got 12 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have 12 hours.
Yeah, we've got nothing else on, have we?
Can you talk about when you went to the pub and your friend played that trick on you? Because I think this is such an ingenious trick. And I want to be more tricky in my day-to-day life. And I'm like, it's logged in my brain as something I want to start doing more.
That is what a great prompt from Hannah there. What great podcasting.
Thanks.
This was my friend Dan, my good friend Dan who I met at university. This was such a good prank because I'm not a fan of pranks, right? Because most pranks are like mean or just annoying. This was like a genuinely wholesome, great prank, right? So, I do videos online, I do my thing. Very occasionally, someone might recognize me in the real world. Not that often, but they might come up to me and they go, hey, I like your videos or whatever. So it's very nice and I appreciate it. So I'm at the pub with my friend Dan. We're in a pub garden. I go to the loo. No, I go and get us some drinks. I come back. We sit down. We're chatting. After like 15, 20 minutes, this girl from the table next to us turns to my friend Dan, who works in he's a scientist. And she goes, I'm so sorry. Are you Dan, gives his whole name, the science guy who's working on diabetes research? And he's like, oh my God, yes. And I'm like delighted. I'm beaming. I'm like, that is so fun that Dan is getting recognized for his work, and also quite funny that it's not me, but I'm kind of like delighted because she kind of tapped and went, sorry, can I ask you something? And I'm not going to lie, part of me was like, oh,
here we go,
let me get the old autograph pen. And she was like, are you Dan, the biologist? And he was like, yeah. And she was like, I read your paper, I also work in biology, and they went on for 5 minutes, and I'm like beaming. I was like, this is such a mad, delightful interaction.
Did you take a photo of them?
Yeah, and then they were like, Benedict, can you take a photo of us? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then this girl posed up with Dan, and I'm taking photos, and I'm going that's a really good one. That's great. And then after 10 minutes, her other friend turns and goes, no, we recognized you. This has all been a ruse. And Dan had arranged this. Basically, I had gone to the bar. The girl had turned to Dan and gone, is that the guy who makes videos? And he went, yeah. And they had arranged, they'd never met before. They had arranged this whole ruse by themselves.
How long were you in that bathroom for?
No, I was at the bar for admittedly a really long time. It was one of those really slow pub bars where
Fair.
Where it's
the bar.
Where also, remind me to talk about that because a crazy thing happened at the bar. But the thing is first of all, it's crazy that they even conspired to do that. That's one of the reasons why I thought it was real, because I'm like, how often does that happen? But also, they sold it so hard.
They went in.
I fully believed that she was a biology fan of Dan's. So credit to them. That was a really fun...
That's such a good prank. That's the kind of thing that you want.
Did you see that other prank on TikTok? Another really good prank where it was someone was bringing her boyfriend to meet a bunch of her home friends for the first time at someone's house, and they were all gathered around a buffet, and they did this prank where they went, it was in America, and they were like, so John, sorry, before we eat, we're all just going to do the Pledge of Allegiance, if that's cool. The thing that kids do at school. They're like,
yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, sure, yeah. And they all put their hands over their hearts, and they were like, I pledge allegiance to the flag, and they're all got their eyes closed, but you can, the way they film it, you can see everyone is trying so hard not to laugh, and they do the Pledge of Allegiance, and then one by one they all file out of the room to go and laugh in the other rooms, and Dan's there. They've got a hidden camera on him, and he's like, oh, that's crazy. I used to do that in school. That's so crazy. But he's being so polite. He really passes the test. And then later they call him in and they're all cracking up and they're like, that was a joke, Dan. We don't really do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Was he called Dan?
I think maybe it was called Dan, or maybe the name Dan's on my brain. But that's an example of a good, charming prank.
Do you know what I think is quite funny? It's maybe not so much prank as a girl out to solve crime.
Yeah.
So this girl at uni thought that the guy she was seeing was with someone else in his room.
Yeah.
So she pulled the fire alarm.
Oh my God.
So that they would have to come out of the building so she could see if he was with someone else, which not so much prank, but
was
genius.
Was he?
I don't know the end of that story.
Hannah, we've got to find out.
Man, if you pull it and then he's just there by himself in his boxers, huh?
What's a fire?
You're like, at least now I know.
Sweetheart, is there a fire? She's like, oh, I don't know. We should say don't do that.
Obviously don't do that, but kind of smart.
That is...
Think smart and not...
Literally smoke them out. We always say smoke them out.
Smoke them out.
Smoke them, scare them more, smoke them out. Great prank from my friend Dan.
Great prank.
Can I just say the thing that happened to me at the bar was, so we talk about this all the time about people being rude in public settings of not letting you off the train first or whatever. Queuing for a bar in a pub is just so stressful because there's never a clear queuing system. People are always trying to cut in. Me and this other guy were stood at this bar for so long because there was one bartender working, and it was a 360 bar, so they were kind of going all round. This guy was in front of me. We'd silently acknowledge that. You can just acknowledge. I was like, don't worry, I'm not going to push in front of you. I know you're next, then it's me. Anyway, they're finishing up this person next to me. It's nearly my go. I'm primed. This guy cuts directly in front of me and just immediately orders. And he knows what he's doing because he does it so fast. He goes, oh yeah, 2 pints, like this. And I'm stood there, and I'm
I'm
not going to like, get in a row because I don't want to like have a fight with a stranger.
Don't have to beat someone up today.
Yeah. It's not that deep. And also it's kind of embarrassing to be like, oh, I was next. But I was like, I'm just going to take a little look at this motherfucker. And I literally just stood there and I just looked at him like this. Like, not even being mean. I was just like, just looking at him. And I could see him. He wasn't looking at me. He was like this. And you could see his face was like, you could see he was like, he knew what he'd done.
You should have, in that moment, just pulled the fire alarm so he couldn't have got the drinks.
And our next drink of me. So he was stood there and he was like that. And then he like got his phone out and then he was like that. And he was looking everywhere. But because I wasn't like, like in his face. I was just kind of like casually just kind of like this. I was like, pleased with yourself, are you? Because I was like, a man who wasn't ashamed with himself would be able to look back. He'd be like, hello, friend.
Look me in the eye.
And he literally, I did that. And then I got served and I was getting my drink. And I kind of forgotten about it. And then he took his drink and then very quietly he just went, sorry about that to me. Where's he left?
Sorry, Mum.
I won. Well, I didn't really because he got the drink first, but
I
was furious. I'm not an angry person. You know this, but that stuff boils my blood where I'm like, do you think I'm just standing here for fun?
Yeah.
I'm standing here to get drunk. But then I went back to the table and had the fun prank with Dan, so it was fine.
Yeah.
Great prank from Dan.
Great prank.
Have you ever pulled a prank?
I've pulled a few pranks on you. I like pretend stuff. I don't know what it is in my delivery.
Oh, I love when you try and prank me.
You know that the trend that went around where it's like, oh, so Helen Mirren dead, whatever it is. I always try and do that on you, but not necessarily dead, but just like, oh my God, so and so and so and so have split up or like blah, blah, blah. And you just never buy it.
I just know you so well. The way your acting is so great because you'll be sat there and then you'll go like, and you'll kind of like half looking to see if I'm looking, and then you'll go like, oh my God, like that. And immediately I'll be like, yes.
I always try and change up the tactics as well. Sometimes I'm like let's like play it down, like, oh gosh.
Oh gosh. But you say it like that.
I know.
You're like, oh gosh, look at that. Rishi Sunak's died. And I'm like, really, has he? And you're always like, how do you know?
Yeah. Although sometimes I'm like, yeah, look online.
But you can never look at me. You're always like, yeah, look online.
Yeah, because I don't want to.
You don't want to laugh.
I would have had to be out the room for the Pledge of Allegiance because I would have just laughed.
Such a good prank.
That is fun. I tell you what was a prank that wasn't meant to be a prank.
Okay.
Your sister, so I was asking her to be my bridesmaid, and we were running late to dinner with her, and we stopped at that little Cards Galore or whatever it's called in Victoria. The cards are all like £8 because it's like, you should have thought of this before you had to get on the train. And it's like, I respect it. Like, they know we're lastminute.com. They know we didn't come prepared, and for that we deserve to pay.
It's like a shitty friend tax, isn't it?
It really is. So we're like, I run in, we've got a train, I'm like looking around and I see a card that says good times ahead, and I'm like, hey, my wedding is a good time. Grab.
It's not often you get a like, will you be my bridesmaid? It's a very specific card.
Well, especially at Cards Galore in Victoria Station.
It's galore, Hannah.
The shop is like this big. There wasn't going to be one that was going to be like, will you be my bridesmaid? Like, it was going to be like slim pickings. It was between that or like a pun card of like a pickle that says,
I'm picking you for my
something.
Yeah.
Friendship. Kin.
Your
kindred spirits. Kindred spirits.
Perfect.
So anyway, I see good times ahead. Grab the card, pay the £8 or whatever. We get to the train. I'm like, great, I'll open it up. Blah, blah. I bought a pen with me because I was prepared.
Okay, I was going to say, because that wouldn't be cheap.
Anyway, I open it up and it says, sorry things have been so tough, is the inside message. So good times ahead, sorry things have been so tough. So
like a bereavement card.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, great. And this pen is one where I'm like, kind of debate, could I scrub through it?
Mm.
And I'm like, I cannot scrub through it. So I'm just like, la, 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 like, haha, sorry about the card, Not my best.
I will say, I think it's a universal rule that you should always get an incorrect card. Because cards are weird, right? It's fundamentally a waste of money. It's 1 second of enjoyment you get from having a card, and then you're going to put it down and never look at it again.
Yeah.
So you might, like, I've never bought my friend a birthday card with the correct birthday on it. You might as well always get one that says happy 70th, because that's like 1% more enjoyable. Mm. If someone handed me a card that said like, to be fair, I just turned 30, so you kind of want an accurate card for that. But when I turned 29, if someone showed me a card that said like happy 29th, I'd be like, what fine. Well done. It's correct. Also, where did you find this very specific card?
Cards galore.
But free tip for people who are boring and who want to be a little bit more fun. Buy your friend a card with the wrong age on it. It's a hoot.
And on that note.
And on that hoot of a note.
You want to wrap
on
it?
that bass pumping note. This has been Talk of the Townsends. Make sure to follow on, YouTube, TikTok, Spotify. We're everywhere. All visual mediums.
Huh?
Not in VR yet. We'll probably introduce that soon. Hannah, do you want to take us out with our famous catchphrase?
No, I hate that every time. The VR of that, we get served that ad every time of that girl playing that piano.
Oh, learning the piano. Yeah. What would the catchphrase be from this episode?
Was Helen Mirren this episode?
I guess I pledge allegiance to the pod. See you next time, kids.
Bye.
Bye.